We take this time now to dive on deep to a great conversation with the Port of Shelton, and I've got Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith on the air with me. Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing?
Good,
Great.
good.
you
How
have a
about
good,
that World Series?
I know, right? People are saying this is one of the best in a long
That's
time.
for the year, yeah.
Lots of home runs, lots of good games
Yeah.
going late into the night, and pretty cool to see the Dodgers and the Stros there.
Yeah.
How was Halloween for y'all?
Quiet.
Quiet
good.
for you?
Yeah, we didn't have too many kids. There were a few
school
kids.
night.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
school night.
Yeah, it's tougher.
So-
Tuesday, not even like a
Kind
Thursday.
of a weird
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
night, too.
But it was a nice night. So
It was
yeah,
beautiful.
you-
It was.
people weren't wearing their raincoats and
No.
garbage sacks and
It's
stuff.
been a long
Yeah.
time since I remember that.
Yeah.
Too.
People having a pleasant
But yeah, super nice. Yeah,
Halloween.
agree.
Well, what's going on with the Port of Shelton?
Well, same old stuff.
Okay. Well, it's good seeing you guys.
Well, we went last week. Commissioner Patterson, Commissioner Buck, and I went to the Small Ports Conference
yeah.
up in Leavenworth.
And once again, you guys are a larger.
We're
of the
larger
smaller-
of the small ports. Yeah, I think the largest port that was there. Well, there were representatives from Port of Seattle that gave presentations, but I
And
think
they were
Bremerton was
saying-
the largest one that was
The Port
there.
of Shelton, Seattle guys were saying, "Stay the size you are. You
Right.
don't want the
Probably.
headaches that we deal
Oh
with."
yeah, well I mean
Yeah.
they have lots of issues that we don't even think about.
I know.
So. But it was a good conference, and one of the big takeaways that I took from it is the Public Disclosure Commission and executive sessions and what you can do and what you can't do.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
You've been clamped down. We've been clamped down on the ports in general a lot on what you can do in executive session, and it's as a result of the Columbia River Keepers against the Port of Vancouver, and it all started with discussing the lease rates for a piece of property in executive session, and for a lot of reasons, when you're doing real estate lease kind of things, you don't want to discuss it in the open because then it becomes people start using that against you,
Sure.
you know, on working the price on you and what have you. And so you have to decide ahead of time what your bottom line's going to be and all that sort of thing. So, but it was a big, it was a momentous lawsuit against the Port of Vancouver. And it's changed what we can do with the results of that is change what we can do with in executive session as far as determining lease rates and what have you like that. You can only discuss the bottom line lease rate.
Huh.
You can't do anything else. Not you're gonna have okay. We can give them this lease or this piece of property at this price, and then we'll have some benefit. They can provide some things here, and we'll provide some things to sweeten the deal, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Can't do that
Wow.
in closed session anymore. Has to be in open session. So that was a lot of discussion about that.
It's interesting because you are an governmental agency, but not like what a lot of folks would consider the city of Shelton.
That's right.
Or Mason County.
Yeah.
You do have constituents in port districts, and
Right.
you are elected to represent the folks in there. So I guess that makes sense, but interesting how it all works out. Is it the same rules, do you know, for city or county?
Well, generally,
conversations?
cities and counties don't do economic development like we do.
Right.
They're not leasing properties.
Yeah.
I don't know of anything in Shelton where the city is leasing
I
property.
mean, they may on a small scale,
Yeah,
at
but
least to
this
an
is your
entity
guys'
for
But
some.
But
business
that's our
model. Yeah.
business. That's what we do.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same. It pulls over to just leases in general. We're negotiating those all the time, whether they're releasing the property because their lease is expiring, and then you're talking. So unfortunately, what this did is it really pushes all that back to staff, which is a good thing. But in a sense, to me, I mean, I have a great commission to work with, and it's really nice that we all can work together. And this way, it eliminates that. It makes all the decision making start with me, and then I've just got to bring that to them. Or we're working individually, you
Right.
know, and it just kind of eliminates the discussion and
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of times you're just, and it's not, you know, the perception is that you're trying to screw the business or
Yeah.
you're trying to really get them. And it's not. I mean, you're trying to really create an opportunity for bringing jobs,
Right.
but still, you know, letting the port, you know, and the port taxpayers make that money. And it's, you know, because eventually, I mean, the hope is that the ports can be self-sufficient enough to not rely on tax dollars
Yeah.
at all,
Yeah.
you know, and just use it completely for
Right.
infrastructure and really small items. And so it's unfortunate that something this big would hit and eliminate that, you know, that ability to discuss, you know, in a private setting where you're not hurting the company, nobody knows who the company is, you know. I mean, it's disappointing.
I mean, there was a lot of conversations that we have had over the years of, well, we are talking with place X. We can't tell you anymore
Right.
because there's a
Yeah,
lot
we're in
of we're in
negotiation, yeah.
negotiations.
Right.
And if that was out in the open, I could see how
Yeah.
that would put a real big wrench in the situation.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you're thinking about surplusing property and selling property or buying a piece of property for future development, something else. You know, if you put that in the public domain, there's an opportunity for somebody else to come in and underbid you,
Sure.
or you know, the sale could, you know, not happen because somebody else found out and they didn't want it to. I mean, there's just different, and so there are good reasons to have that, you know, in executive session. But I also understand the public desire that there is, you know, they're feeling like they're being left out of a process.
Yeah.
But, you know, unfortunately, 99.9% of the time, it's really in the benefit of either the port taxpayers, the company, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad, but
Because if you did it maliciously,
Yeah.
word would get out and nobody would come
yeah,
do business.
that's right.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
for sure.
And,
Yeah,
you know,
and
people-
that's what, you know, and it has happened. I mean, you know, in the past, no, I wouldn't say in our port, but you know, it has happened where, you know, you hear the stories
hear
of,
the
you know,
stories.
things happening, and you know, somebody did something in executive session that was totally illegal, and we know what we can do and we know what we can't. We're actually really good at it.
Yeah, we are really good
We've,
at it.
you know, we announce the right, you know, item. Our attorney's constantly looking to make sure we do that. Earlier this year, we had an executive session. It was review of a public employee. You know, it's important you say that. You can't just go into executive session and say it's personnel issue. You can't say that anymore. You
Oh, wow.
have to specify that
What
it's
you're going to do
reviewing it
and the law under which you're going to discuss it.
Sure.
and how much time, and then, you know, so there's super, you know, stringent rules, and we're really good at following them. It's just unfortunate that
Yeah.
it comes to this kind
Yeah.
of thing, but you go with it.
Yeah.
You learn the new rules.
That's right.
as they come along.
Yeah.
Last week, you guys were in here and you were talking about kind of a surreal scene as the houseboats down on the marina were sands at North Dock. And it's been really nice. So I'm sure a lot of great work has been able to be
Yeah,
done. And
yeah.
the winds are starting to kick up now. And we're
yep.
seeing a change in the forecast. How are things looking down there?
Great. The dock went in just really seemed, I
Yeah.
mean, like, again, credit those, you know, our maintenance
troops,
crew.
yeah.
I mean, they are just awesome, and they set it up, get it done. And I think they just, you know, did some of the finishing touches with, you know, with the plumbing and the electrical and various things. And the coolest part about that is, again, this is the North Dock. They built the docks. All of that work and all of the labor and all the parts were all paid for by our insurance company because of
Wow.
storm damage.
That's great.
So
Oh, good
for you
yeah,
on that.
yeah. So I mean that, you know, couldn't be better than that. So, but yeah, again, credit to our maintenance crew. They just work like dogs, and man, they, you know, I mean, it shows. I mean, we've got beautiful pictures, and you know, then Deb at the office is constantly posting those and getting those up so people can see them. And there was a really cool picture that just showed, and I think maybe I said this last week, but it just showed the expanse of boathouses and no dock, and it was just kind of this weird.
Yeah, so floating there with the spaces
What's
in
this?
between.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
kind of that ominous, but yeah, it was great. So, and I think I said we were out to bid on the septic at Johns Prairie, and we accepted bids on Monday, and we got 2 bidders, and it sounds like Brandon's getting ready to award probably today. So I won't I won't make that announcement. I'll let him do
Yeah,
that.
By law, he has to do that. as a
But it
matter
was
of fact,
good.
yeah.
They actually bid under his estimate, and so that's a good thing. And
Nice.
that's again all curb,
Yeah.
curb funded, and so that's exciting. And yeah, so
Ah, good.
things are
Good
moving
stuff
along.
here.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of the beginnings of our audit.
Yep.
Our
Audit
three-year
started
audit
this
started
week.
Monday.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
So,
Yeah. So
Well, good stuff. Always from the Port of Shelton here, and we'll continue to check in with you weekly as we move through the rest of the end of the year here. So y'all have a good rest of your day. Let's surface on out of here, shall we?
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs,
Go
and
Cougs.
go Cougs,
Yeah.
and go everybody here.
Astros.
And- Later.
How about that? Go Dogs.